Deep.
Any luck? Any luck,
Yes,
Patricia?
yes. I've got editor rights now. Thank you very much.
Okay. So we started to explore this by asking people that question. We had 6 different times. And when we explored the question, what will it take to release our human energy, and pulled that together into what appears as this chart. Oh, let's see, why am I not?
Patricia, you need to share screen
Yes.
and focus in on the chart that has the pink, blue, green top on it, the workshop product one.
The top part. Okay, this was what was created, and there's the question at the very top of it. Also, it's a loose pull together, I think we would have to say. Jim and Lauren and I and a few others were working on it. It could be refined, the language could be refined on it, but it's pointing us in some directions at this point. And then what we've done for the last 4 times is take each one of those. And today we're going to focus there on G. You can look across, say where it says G. Reformulate. Let's see, reformulate our social fabric for planetary good. And then under that are 4 components. That would mean reframe consumer culture, every sector towards planetary good. Implement known solutions now, small wins, no regrets. Create incentives for behavior and systems which support people and planet as opposed to supporting profits. And invest extensively in local engagement within a global context. So, and we're, okay. I've been caught up in the last few days with this whole framework of what is happening in Ukraine and Russia, and the need to, what does the social fabric look like? Or the UN last night released a report saying now they anticipate we have to 2025 to make the difference. So where for you are you sensing that need to reformulate our social fabric in your situation? Just take that question for a moment and just perhaps in the chat, just put briefly where this kind of impinges on you to reformulate this social fabric, a particular place, either in your local situation, but let's use the chat for a minute and just that will kind of get us into this particular answer. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Oh, okay. Yes. Well, in terms of structures, G, where do you have a sense that we need to reformulate the social fabric for planetary good? And in a particular place, what we're looking for is a particular place that maybe you're working on right now, creating that new social fabric. Maybe it's an example of where the social fabric is tearing apart.
I got a call from my pharmacy because it's time to go get our medicine for the month. And they were worried that we hadn't been by to pick it up. So that sort of counts as social fabric.
I think so. I remember all of your stories about Taiwan in the midst of the global epidemic and what Taiwan was doing. Yes. Okay. Very good.
Medicine could be a euphemism for anything, right? Especially if you're taking monthly deliveries.
Well, the other thing I've been watching is we have colleagues in Shanghai, and Shanghai just extended the quarantine for 25 million people for another week.
Mhm.
God.
And so they are receiving food from across China delivered to their door by different structures within the government system. And some of that means that they receive food that they have never eaten before. And so they're talking on the social media about how do we prepare? What is this and how do I prepare it? And so, anyway.
Fascinating. Okay.
It's amazing the degree to which as we're looking at the pandemic, how it has forced a different sense of social structure and fabric, the things we're doing.
Mhm. Okay. We're welcoming a few more people also. Sunny, Evelyn. Yeah. If I don't,
Farzad is here too.
okay, good. I can see some of you, but not all of you with the chart so big. Okay. Well,
Patricia, can you zoom back a little bit so we can see the whole chart?
Can.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. So others, I put in there the Indigenous understanding of environmental justice. I've been aware of environmental justice at different levels for different people. And how do we have a structure that's environmental justice for all the people? Yeah. And Kevin, the Community Independence Project. Is that something you're working on, Kevin?
Yes, I'm involved in it. I shouldn't say I'm working on. It's it goes by several names. I won't do the whole history piece, but essentially it is a grassroots initiative to get elected local grassroots people to one of the two houses of parliament as a foil to the two dominant political parties.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And getting so successful that it's threatening the major parties. They are looking to create legislation that would limit funding to such community independence, because they're claiming that they're not truly independent if they are banding together. And they're banding together in the sense of being grassroots, but no common policy platforms or anything like that. They pursue things like integrity, climate change, etc.
Okay. Okay. Good. And Larry, just share that one quickly.
Oh, I was putting in the 5 categories from the column.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Good. That's fine. Okay. Okay. Well, let's use that as our background. And
Can you drop the link again if you haven't?
Yes. Let me do that.
I
in the
got
chat.
Windows 11 installed overnight and it's now set to be like
Yeah.
on my screen.
It's messing up even my wait, let me just go to the chat.
yes, Patricia has volunteered to be our tech person today. And so we are grateful for that and working with it. Yes.
Yeah, bear with
big
me a bit because
Thank
my
you.
system is giving me problems today. So I have one screenshot. So I'm trying to look at everyone and the chat and the Miro on one screen. So that's why it's a bit slow.
工作人员做社区工作，
Isn't that precisely the problem we're wrestling with in this session? Our system seems to be giving us problems these days.
Right. Yes. This is true. And someone else just joined, connecting to audio. DI.
We are 13 people. So
Oh,
Okay.
that's
let me
that's
just see who-
Ken Kinney from Ghana.
Hey,
Ken
oh,
is here.
wonderful. Well, we
Jeffrey, Catherine, Jane. Okay.
have a wonderful
Sandra.
cross section of the world here. So
Okay.
good. Okay.
Good,
Well-
good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Greetings. Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
I'm not clear about the etiquette of which greeting you give. Do you go anyway? Okay, I'm going to get focused here, and let's take what we've been doing is we've taken each one of these responses and taken a look at it on the social processes. So we're going to focus in on structures today, and and so we're going to start with a new social process triangle. For those that might be new to this tool, it was developed by the ICA in 1971. And we have a few people here who were actually there when it was being developed. I think.
Yeah, I'm that old.
Yes. So Jim and Larry, anyone else?
No, I wasn't there. I was at a summer camp
Oh, okay.
with 4-year-old children, 4 to
Okay.
6-year-old kids. And
You may
but
have learned more.
I did donate my television because it was in a car in the parking lot while the process was being concluded, and somebody stole it out of the car. So I did lose my TV. But
Okay. On behalf of, thank you, Larry, enabling this to happen. My life was turned around when I was introduced to these in 72 in terms of a comprehensive screen. So we're going to use it today, and we're going to put the, Pat, if we could put the G1,
Yeah.
which is at the bottom there, right in the middle of the social process triangles. Okay. And we're going to do one as a demonstration of what we're going to be doing here. So this talks about one of the responses we need to do is to reframe our consumer culture in every sector towards planetary good. So this idea of consumer culture, of the buy, shop, and this understanding, as it's been known in the West anyway, as consumer culture. We need to reframe it, relook at that. So is this, and I'll just walk us through this one, is this part of the economic, the political, or the cultural dynamics? And these are dynamics happening. And what we said at the time was in every level. In your household, you have an economic development, a cultural dynamic, political. It's at the community level, it's at the nation, and at the world level. So when we're talking about consumer culture and looking at that, where does that go? Where's your sense? And we're looking at no right answer, but we're just exploring the topic here. So, okay.
Oh,
Well,
somebody
that's
has,
interesting.
yeah.
Sonny, you got more power than you thought.
We keep trying to make it 3D.
Oh. Well,
There we go. Okay. So highlighting that, economic, political, cultural, which one, and each one kind of take a look. For some, you might be seeing this for the first time, which is great that you're exploring it. And some have worked with this for quite a while.
Jan,
Yes.
there's quite a bit of data under this one. Maybe I could share the points.
Okay. Yes, please.
So there are six sub insights. Create a circular economy, conceive a viable governance approach, shift our concept of social good and social morality, re-engineer our dominant economic concepts, build people's will towards effective change.
Where are
and
you reading
sunset-
this from, Jim? Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Where are you reading this from in case It's on the
Yeah.
board. I can share.
No,
with
it's not on, this one's not on that board.
you. Okay.
I could probably figure that out, but anyway, and sunset oil production, shift our energy systems to sustainable ones.
Okay. Pat, underneath each one of these answers here, this card is the brainstorm data. And so that's what we were reading on.
Okay.
So there's a lot of responses.
Okay. Yeah, I
And
remember
so,
that. Yeah.
yeah, just to kind of get inside that. At some point after today, we need to put together the whole package and be able to see where we go next with this. But the amount of data is huge right now. Yeah. Okay. So anyone, first response, reframe consumer culture. What is that, more an economic dynamic that needs to happen? More of a political, or more of a culture?
What about all three? Or at least two
Yeah.
of the three?
Okay, at least, and which two, Kevin?
Well, the economic and the culture. I mean, the title, the word reframe and culture would suggest, there's definitely culture going on there.
Okay.
But
yes.
the word consumerism points to the economic.
Okay. Yeah.
But in the data that Jim read out, I also heard political.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's part of this. The joy of all of this is how interrelated these are as dynamics. Okay. Let's go for the culture part first. What part of the culture is this? Linked to?
Well, you're talking about reframing, which is around communal wisdom, but you're talking about the current culture that's already established, which means it's in the common symbols. We've already created common symbols of consumerism that represent our global culture. And then, of course, anyway, all three on the top seem to be resonating very strongly with what is keeping this in place.
Okay.
And I was thinking of the example that Larry gave earlier of Shanghai. Our ability to ship food and feed people on lockdown is very much an accomplishment of what we now call consumer culture. Supply lines and connections and stuff like that. It's in some sense it feels as though it's gone overboard, but this is not. It's not simply a dysfunction that we're dealing with.
Yes. Okay.
Ken, are you tracking this?
Yeah, I want to, I think consumerism or consumer culture, I think, is it not more of the fact that we buy things and we do not even use them? We have the propensity to buy and buy and buy, and we do not really use them. So I'm not sure how we are going to change that culture very easily.
So I'm thinking, when you said that, I'm thinking there at the top of the economic common distribution consumption plans. Our plans for consumption are gone all crazy.
That, yes.
Yeah, but then the structure for distribution is also very critical for survival of the human species. So I don't see that as as a problem. But then the greed aspect, that is what is fueling the consumerism. That we buy, we just continue buying. People have as many as 10, 20, 13, 50 pairs of shoes. What do you need it for? You go to some people's home, they have parked 5 cars, 6 cars. What are you using it for? So that is what needs to change. And I think that is what the reframe consumer culture. I don't know whether the card is, yeah. So maybe that is really what the card should be, what we should be proposing, or what we should be addressing.
Okay. Yes, that sense of greed. In the West, sometimes we talk about the overconsumption is trying to fill a void within.
Exactly.
And
that
so-
is a real issue.
Yes, no.
All the other issues we have put here is because there is a void in every individual, which we want to fill, even political. Yeah, social. So that is where the crux of the matter is.
Okay. And I think something like that void is up in the community, the symbols one, we have it up there, but if we, and it's part of that very top. If you're just seeing this for the first time, it's common. It's not so much religion as a particular religion, but it's those deeper understandings of the meaning of life.
Exactly.
Yes, and so that link there. Okay. Well, you can begin to see how we do this. Let's do one more.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I actually think the whole thing is manipulated. I don't think even that it's a void or it's some other problem with us. The whole thing is an economic manipulation that people have, there is a system, and unfortunately, as you know, when in the pyramid goes on top, there are few people organizing it, and then what is coming down is telling us that we have, we have the desire to buy everything. We are doing this way. We need everything, but it's an all state managed because of economic reasons. That's simply that. Some people need to get rich, and to make things worse, they're telling you to get rich as well. So you are consuming as well as you are selling. So this is a very vicious circle. And I think what you said about the going deeper inside, that's another point. But this vicious circle where you are the consumer and you are the producer is a very difficult thing to stop, because you are gaining from the system. You're not just the victim, you're the perpetrator as well. So it's an economic problem.
Okay.
Totally, I would put the entire blame on the economic setup.
Okay.
Which part of the economic triangle do I draw is there a link?
Let's see. So someone help.
I think it has to do with exchange mechanisms. It has to do with we're overvaluing property claim and undervaluing human and natural resources.
Okay. Okay. And I was thinking also maybe something with the production. You get, when you talked about the cycle there, the production cycle and
Right.
so, thank you. Good. And did someone else have their hand up there?
Yes, I did as well. Culturally, I think I want to follow up with Andal as well, that what she's saying is very true, because the culturally, this is more in the Western culture and more developed countries, imposing that culture on the rest of the world about being global, being consuming, the culture of more and more and more. And because we have concentrated in the past 250 years, maybe, more about development and more about how to, survive, in a very thrive, not survive. This has become a kind of like a pandemic. It's global. So the other thing is that if we take the culture of more, it has an outside appearance. And because we have left our roots more from that root within and developing your inner awareness and culture and growth, we have been concentrating outside. So more would be this. More is about having 5 cars and 10 different mobiles and what have you. I was in US a couple of months ago and I was like, my God, we don't have Costco. We don't have, in Iran, we don't have Costco. We don't have these big shops, but they're coming. They're coming a lot. So people are changing their habits. We have shops that is next door to our houses and we can just walk and buy what we need daily. But now people, without even thinking, they're going more to hypermarkets and purchasing. So I think this internal, it comes with an awareness. Once you're aware, then everything changes. But I think it definitely has a political mess, and it is definitely something political, because who dominates the political scene, right?
Yes.
The
I was
top
thinking,
families, producers. Yeah.
Thank you.
I was thinking even in our history as ICA, when we went to do social demonstration projects, one of our goals was for rapid socioeconomic development. We wanted to demonstrate it was possible to triple the income of a community in just a few years. That seems a part of that encouragement of rapid economic growth. I also think, for me, to the left of that economic commonality triangle is this big thing that's called planet Earth. And I think a part of it is in our consciousness. We've been treating the planet as an externality that we don't have to take into account. And so we don't, we treat air and water as common goods, not as having to pay for them. And I think that's a thing that's pressing on us very strongly now. I'm complete.
So Jim, are you suggesting that we should have a line that goes down to natural resources?
Well, certainly in terms of the social process, it has to do with natural resources, but it also has to do with a different realization in the economic, that we're not simply, that the planet we live on and the universe we live in is not simply something for us to use economically.
Okay.
I'm complete.
Okay. And I had one small piece to add to that, and that was the understanding in some cultures, instead of a profit motive, is a gift economy. And I've been exploring that for the last few years, that understanding of where in other cultures, other times, it was more of a sense of the gift of what you could give. And so I'm intrigued with that as an alternative to this Western model of, my ears perk up when I hear those people doing that kind of experiment. Okay.
Yeah, I want to just add some other point before we proceed.
Okay.
I want to also submit that all of us are following Maslow's theory of motivation, basically.
Hmm.
So we want to actualize ourselves, and then it is about how we, or the route we use for self-actualization. So I would say that and ICA used to have this slogan that concern with human factor in well development. And therefore, what we want to project as what people should be focusing on should resonate on the fact that if you're talking about self-actualization, it's not about the greed of the world, but then to what extent you are supporting the human factor in development. Multiplying or tripling an income for poor communities, is all about sustainability. If whatever we are using to do that, we have premised it on sustainable development, then I don't see it as an issue. But the issue of self-actualization based on the greed model is what we would have to look at, and then that becomes what ICA wants to do differently. I'm complete.
Okay, excellent. Well, this is far-reaching. It's thank you. You can see what can you say? that we've gone through this slowly. I don't know if it's fair to say Jim and I and Lauren were trying to get through all of this plotting by this time. Maybe I just have to give that goal up, Jim. I don't know. I mean, we could divide up into, there's the other, let's see, let me ask if we practically, Pat, can you divide us into groups?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay.
Just,
There-
I would like to add 2 links to political on that, just so
Okay.
that political doesn't feel like you're not caring for it.
We're not
'Cause you
involved.
have you have corporate welfare, secure existence. The whole conversation about how do we shift the conversation of what we mean by secure existence?
Okay.
Because if it's a consumer criteria, then it gets into its own trap. But it's a valid question of what is the corporate welfare? What does that look like in a planetary good context? What does that look like?
Okay. Yes.
The other one was up under communal style, so that's okay. We got political counted. We don't have
Okay.
to worry about the other one right now.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Just pulling this conversation on consumer, the consumer culture, and how it needs to be reframed. What do you now see, or what is this conversation telling us?
Well, one of the things I noticed is, oops, sorry,
Yes, Jane. Yep.
is that a lot of the lines are going to cultural, either economic cultural or political cultural, plus the cultural triangle.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
That just may be because of our conversation. If I take my cue from the title of the column, structures, if that was the lens I used to look at the reframing, then I'd be focusing heavily on the political dimension of the 3. I think what this is telling me, Jan, is there's system-wide impact.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I see this, it's kind of shifted that way. Okay. So let's put the board back up.
Put the board back up. Okay. People like to work together, I think.
I think so.
We do.
Okay.
No, it's just hard to see everything you need to see to do it.
Yes. So G2, those that were working there, implement known solutions now. Mhm.
So I'll start and then the rest of our group can come in, and I have to get to something where I can see this bigger. I can't,
Can you see it bigger now?
yeah. So Evelyn, you mentioned agriculture on this one. This was a lot of successful projects, carbon emissions, agricultural land use. So we had agriculture came under which one, Evelyn?
Natural
Oh,
resources.
comes under economic, common resources, natural resources.
Yep.
And then there's a political dynamic of supporting projects that are successful. And I think we said it was under political significant engagement and secure existence. Does that sound right, group?
Yes, I think so.
So we
Mhm.
said corporate welfare. Said corporate welfare. It falls into corporate welfare under
Right.
political
Yes.
commonality.
How
Good
social?
welfare.
These are just sub-triangles on it. Those were the three that I think we had time to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Where is corporate welfare?
Like
Corporate-
Top
political
of political
commonality.
commonality.
okay.
Oh, and there are, in terms of, I guess, either production or maybe it's under production. Under production, there's something about sustainable building codes.
Right.
In other words, no longer being able to use toxic materials to put into the walls to make them airtight or whatever you call it.
So where does
You
that
you
go?
can't. It goes
Yeah.
under production,
Into-
common production or
Mm,
common
that's
production
Nana,
systems.
we have to talk before. The bear, thank
Yeah.
you when I didn't.
And I don't know, would
Yes.
that also be under
Then I need to-
property, under the
Uh,
common
because you want to go
distribution?
by two. And so,
Ah.
so if not for two,
Yeah, that's
1 to
also
2 now,
true.
if they haven't.
Oh, can, mhm. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So
And actually, this comes out of some sort of corporate order, because they put it into law. In other words, if you do not switch over from using gas, then you are taxed after 10 years because you haven't adapted, which means previously in Taiwan, everyone was using coal to cook on. And there was smoke everywhere all the time. And then they switched to gas. And now so everyone has either gas canisters or connected to city gas. And now people are saying, well, this is still using too much
fossil fuels.
fossil fuels. So now they're saying, okay, you need to switch to electric cars or some other means of transportation, or you need to go to electric stoves. You can't use gas anymore. You have to figure out different ways to cool and heat your houses rather than by gas. And so this places a big burden on the homeowner or on the landlord make shifts in their buildings in order to comply with these new laws that are coming out.
So is
Evelyn,
that
would that
under
be,
economic commonality, common resources, or does that belong to the political?
under
triangle?
political, would it be legal base?
Yes, I think it has to do with legal base.
And then Larry identified another one, which really seems to pertain to this one, which I think is accumulated wisdom, knowledge, Larry, local to local.
Yes, it's under communal wisdom, accumulated knowledge. Because if you have local initiatives, one of the challenges is collecting the data of all those local initiatives and make it available to all the other local initiatives.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that goes over to accumulated knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good.
And also there's now a new movement, which is instead of having lawns, grow your own vegetables. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's yeah, anyway.
Patricia, the
Yes.
one that you put under the left triangle under cultural goes over to the right triangle, accumulated knowledge.
Oh,
The arrow that ends in useful skills, move it farther.
okay.
Yeah, what Evelyn has just mentioned, is it not really about adopting technologies for our survival that is environmentally friendly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Which
Okay.
cuts across energy production, food production, and all other kind of things.
Where does
I don't know how relevant is where we can place it, but that is how I was looking at the explanation given by Evelyn.
Okay. Okay, well, let's thank the G2 team and with additional ones, and to G3, create incentives for behaviors and systems which support people and planet as opposed to profits. Incentives for behavior and systems.
We said we wanted something under 2 of the categories. We wanted something under exchange mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
So economic commonality, the top common
Right there.
distribution.
See that X?
Yes, that's
Ah,
exchange
okay.
mechanism.
That's what you're aiming for. Okay, then the other one was property claims. Also in the next box over. But if we're really going to shift because our category is shifting, it's create incentives for behaviors and systems which support people and planet as opposed to profits. Then we were coming over under political, and that's when the time ran out. Kevin, do you remember what you were talking about at that moment?
Well, I think so. One, secure existence is one of the connections I'd make. This is about, incentives for systemic change or systemic structural changes.
Where is that secure existence?
Where I just put the red X.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, that's interesting. From a process point of view, it's interesting to have each one of these elements, each one of these cards have a different symbol when it lands on the social processes. So, yeah, so we'll go with X's here. Continue.
Well, my X's will disappear in a minute. That's a
Yes.
Zoom annotation. It's not a Miro one.
Okay.
Oh,
See, okay.
So we can do it. We can do it because
Can you do it? Yes. Can you? Yeah. Leave the
Yeah.
line linking, but with an X. That's nice.
Oh.
Okay.
So
we
Larry,
can do.
Larry, are you suggesting that if we use Zoom annotation, since they'll disappear quickly, that will be an incentive to change our behavior?
It would have impact. Whether it's an incentive or not is something we have to wait over time to see.
It won't disappear unless you clean it off, or you move it. It will stay
Yes.
there unless you
Anyway,
shift the
the
system.
question right now is, do we have any other triangles we want to hook our thing up to? Not where did I put my X's or how did I do it?
Yeah.
So
So what I'm doing is I can change the colors of the arrows for each of the G
Yes.
labels. So at
Oh,
least
okay.
you will know.
okay. Yes.
Where they came from. Okay.
You
Okay.
know what's striking me here as we're moving forward on this one, it's a mess.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but it's occurring to me, this business of reformulating our social fabric for planetary good. That's the key to everything.
Mm.
If you read the suggestions, it's, we have to change this right now. 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 It's all these practical solutions that fall in this column. And in terms of, and so I'm thinking when we redraw this kind of has to be in the middle, and all these other ones have to do with releasing the human factor. Ken was using this term to move more, to have this reformulated social fabric somehow move more quickly.
Okay.
Before we leave this, I'd like to there's one more, the social structures in the communal style, I think, will also be awakened with these incentives. So
Yes.
it's in the culture pat, the bottom right, the top triangle of that bottom right.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Social
I-
structures.
I also feel like the 4 cards in this particular column feel much more like steps, where the title is the overall intent and the 4 cards are different steps to get to that title. Whereas some of the other columns, I have not felt that. I felt like the column, but there were 4 different aspects of that thing. But this feels much more linear, as if there are 4 steps to it. I'm
Okay.
complete.
Okay.
Kevin, you said
Yeah,
go to
right
social
there, Pat.
structures
Yes.
from G3.
Yes,
Yes.
from G3. You got it. I can see a line there. Oh, okay.
Perfect.
G3, red. Okay.
Okay. And let's do G4, which was invest extensively in local engagement within a global context.
Okay, G4 we started. So this
Okay.
is G4. So we had it going to economic exchange mechanisms and political commonality, but we didn't go into the sub areas. So
Okay.
who was in our group? It was, I think, Ken, Christine, was it Christine?
Catherine and Sunny.
Catherine. Sunny, yeah, because I'm moving arrows, so I'm focused on moving arrows.
I think specifically in the economic commonality that we want to take a look at, I would suggest technical resources specifically as a way to make sure that it can actually be pulled off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm inclined towards also an economic commonality production forces addressing that angle. So I'll, and I know, Ken, you were thinking some cultural connections that you may want to articulate.
Yeah, looking at the card for investment, I was looking with the background of the fact that anything that we are doing on this planet is for the development of the human being. And therefore, structures that needs to be built that can enhance human development is critical. So I see it as being more on the political side.
Oh.
And therefore resources that needs to be heavy on human development, and that will lead to the political side, because that is where all the decisions are made. The decision to go to war by by Russia is by human beings, but then if they are more enlightened human beings, they will know that human life is more important than anything. So that's where I'm coming from. There should be more investment on human development at the political level. Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Given that I'm engaged
I don't
in
see human development in the political triangle. Am I?
Closest would be significant engagement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
There is
Okay.
a
That's
human
Like
significant.
legal
resources,
base.
in the economic triangle, there is human resources. So is that also
Yes.
something that we
Yeah.
should? Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's also something under useful skills under cultural, on the left-hand side of the cultural.
What are you thinking, Jane?
I have to look at I can't read what's on there. I have to change screens here for a minute.
Cultural? So far, G4,
Well, there's
there are
something about that if there's projects, and these are projects like G2 was projects, there's something about accumulating knowledge and building useful skills that enables replication or expansion. And I'm not remembering the final meanings one, but after what Jan said about 2025, that language at least has some significance.
I don't know if you hear me, but
yeah, we do.
Okay.
Now we do.
Great. I feel being very engaged in this work locally. I think social structures is a critical piece because you're creating a communal effort in environmental work at the neighborhood level. And all of that is moving towards the resilience of the community.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yes. I'm pondering the way then we know about what's going on locally. I get some of my information from Yes Magazine in terms of knowing what's happening. Some of these local type of things, and I'm searching out other vehicles to know that. The ICA network and what we're working on is also one of those in terms of innovations. What are the social innovations today? Social environmental innovations. And so I think that is part of the common wisdom.
Yeah.
possibly accumulated knowledge? How do we, you know, it was our old sharing approaches at work dynamic. You know, we said someone could have a great innovation 30 miles down the road and you wouldn't know about it. And I still find that to be true, is that way of knowing things. And you would think in a universe where we could know the ins and outs of our personalities within nanoseconds, we can figure this out. Anyway.
So an example of that, Jan, is one of my friends here is an environmental architect. She does everything sustainably. And she told about a house in Quito that was built with bamboo. And the owners invested a lot of money to make this bamboo house. And it turns out that it fell apart within a year because they didn't have the right skills or knowledge on how to treat the bamboo to avoid bug infestations. So it just seems that there's lots of good ideas. Well, build with bamboo, but you need a set of skills, you need a set of knowledge that is shared to be able to do that.
I think the sense from the data from the pilots was those first two words, invest extensively. It's not like it's not like there aren't great things happening and ICA hasn't struggled to make things happen at the local level and so forth and so on. But when you think of all the locals and what's required, there's got to be a different scale of investment.
Right.
To actually make that happen, to get the technology shared, to get things out, to get the structures recreated. That was an interesting emphasis for me in the data.
Where does investment come in the social process triangles?
There is some exchange somewhere under community. That's for economic community, but then there is some exchange up there. I don't know how investment can fit into that.
There's more than one kind of investment. And I think about our local neighborhood work, the investment of time that people take to go door to door to actually talk to their neighbors, even if it's a mask at 6 feet. And then the investment, I'm not quite sure, and we're struggling with this here, what the investment is that encourage people to even do that.
Yeah.
Any resource we need.
Sorry. Under exchange mechanisms. And probably under consumption plans, there's a category called inclusive equilibrium. And that right now we have an exclusive imbalance and we're looking for an inclusive equilibrium.